Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Brune. Joining me once again is Shea Dixon. Shea, I'm not 100%, but at this point in the season, who is, right?
You'd be listed on the injury report as questionable.
Questionable. But we made it. We made it here to Friday, so we'll see. Thankfully, it's a road game. If it was a home game tomorrow, then I'd be
Well,
really
it
fighting
took
it.
it out of you. Matty B had a busy week. It was signing day for basketball, women, men, women, what, number one class, men, top 10 class, uh, men's baseball, number one class, per usual, just reloading once more. But we had it wall-to-wall coverage and golly, all the Bryce Underwood talk and everything else. So I think fans forgot we had to cover a game this week, Matty B.
Hey,
But hey, everyone's been jumping on $1 on the Bengal Tiger, and you get everything on 3. So you can go read everybody else's stories and message boards, and our message board's been fun this week. So
yes,
good times for
yes.
the Bengal Tiger.
Men's basketball got a win over Kansas
That was
State last
huge.
night. Oof, that was
Held the
big.
$2 million man to nothing.
Don't make me laugh right now. I'm sick.
Coleman Hawkins locked up
Coleman
last night.
Hawkins. Yeah, Coleman Hawkins did not have anything for him. But all right, LSU Florida preview.
Well, you got to start with Lagway, right? The line is LSU is a 4-point favorite,
Yes.
and DJ Lagway is now being reported as probable to play. Like they're expecting him now to play. This is Florida's freshman quarterback. Graham Mertz was their starter. He was their starter last year. He got hurt. Even Lagway was kind of starting to play a little, but then Mertz gets hurt. Lagway plays. Lagway gets hurt, misses a game. Now it looks like he's coming back, Matty B. If it's not him, they're down to a third string quarterback that transferred out of the Ivy League.
Yeah, Aiden Warner.
And they'd be swimming upstream. I guess the question is one we don't know. Look, if they say Lagway is going to play, then okay, let's expect him to play. How healthy is he? Because where Lagway hurts you, especially with this lack of ability to stop this quarterback running back attack, that A&M came with, that Bama came with, seems to me if Lagway's if he's like at 80%, that's a big difference when you're nursing a hamstring injury than a healthy Lagway.
Yeah, and even though like his stats don't jump out, I don't think against Kentucky. I went and watched the Kentucky game because they won like 45-20. He had really nice like scrambles, and they had those designed runs where it's kind of read option type stuff. And he is extremely elusive. He's a great athlete, which we knew coming out of high school. So if he plays again, what percentage is he? Is he relegated to just being a pocket passer and them relying on their running backs? That is the biggest question mark to me. I was talking to our On3 guys at Florida, and that was my first question that I sent over yesterday in doing like a Q&A with them. So it was like, what percentage do you think Lagway's at, and do you think that restricts him as a runner? Obviously, with the hamstring, if it is still bothering him, you would expect him not to be running as much. But still, I think in general, the Florida run game is still something that is a concern for me. They're 17th in the country in rushing success rate. I have that flipped. And with Lagway, I think that they would be a real challenge for LSU. Without him, clearly they become more one-dimensional. So I do think a lot of this game hinges on his health.
They've also got back, one of their sparks on offense at least, in Elijah Badger. So that'll be key, especially with Lagway. We'll see if Montreal Johnson, former UL player, Louisiana native, plays at running back. But they are banged up as Pup Howard's now out. Their secondary's taken some huge hits this year. We'll go back and forth talking about that when we get there. But when you look at this Florida offense, Matty B, I'm looking at scoring wise per game. They're behind LSU by about a field goal. And then you bring up Lagway. When you look at just the rushing offense in the conference as a team, Florida still right at top 10, number 10, 151 a game. LSU at the bottom, 114. So This isn't I mean, they are significantly behind the A&M, Bama, Arkansas, even when that's kind of been the thing that they've had to rely on.
Yeah, and in years past, they've been able to, like, really rely on that. I mean, they had Trevor Etienne before as well, so now we'll see if Montrell Johnson plays. This has just been an offense that's been so banged up, like, the
Yeah.
receiver position you mentioned Badger coming back, but they've Eugene Wilson, has been out for a while. I mean, we start with Graham Mertz being out. Like, going into the season, I thought Florida had a good chance to, like, be where they are right now, which is, Napier keeps his job. Like, I didn't think they were gonna fall off the face of the earth. Now after they lost to Miami like that, I changed my tune. But they've bounced back fairly nicely. I think offense, like at full strength, is actually decent, but they're not full strength right now. So if you're LSU's defense, I have a little bit of faith that they should be able to, rush the passer well. The linebackers should have more leeway, should have more alleys than they had against Alabama. Alabama just kind of overwhelmed them. I don't expect Florida to do that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with LSU's defense here. I think Florida's definitely going to try to control the clock to a degree and run the ball with Johnson, run the ball with Ball, run the ball with Lagway if possible, and kind of get into those mandible situations. It's going to feel a lot like it's going to feel a lot like to me like the Arkansas game of sorts in terms of what I expect Florida's offense to be.
You look at what they've done this year on the ground, and like I said, it's been a mixed bag. Guys have been hurt. You're getting Lagway in, but uh, they're Jaden Ball nine games played, only 89 carries, but turned it into 411 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's
Yeah.
almost
Against
10
the
yards a touch.
Kentucky, he had 22 carries, 106, and 5 touchdowns. So, again, like, they can run the ball sometimes.
Not a bad line there. Montrell Johnson, we'll see what if he plays or not. But Jacoby Jackson's been playing as well. So, and then Lagway runs it 37 for 114. He hasn't scored yet, but tossing Treyon Webb, and it's been a complete mixed bag. They don't have like a guy they've leaned on this year.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that LSU doesn't allow Lagway to throw all over them.
Well,
Um,
Lagway is below. I read the Florida's or On3 Florida site did their preview and predictions, and they've actually been on the money this year. Considered that Florida's a team that loses games, wins games, gets into
yeah.
some that you don't know, and they've only one of them have missed this year, and they're picking the right side of each one. They two went LSU, one went Florida, but they pointed out in the piece that in Lagway's past 3 games, he's under a 50% passer. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's if somehow you can make him pass, you're in a great spot. Even better than when Milrow throws it.
Yeah, and or like a Marcel Reed of sorts. Like again, I think a lot of this comes down to Lagway's health in terms of his running ability. Yeah, if not, I feel confident enough in LSU's defense to get some stops.
LSU throws for about 100 yards more per game for those kind of curious of how it breaks out. I mean, I think people are caught up right now, obviously, in the turnovers and how that led to 6 quarters of bad football that ultimately left you with 2 losses in a row in the SEC when you could have been the lone SEC team without a loss heading into that Bama game. But they are still a top 10 offense nationally. So LSU is, Florida is not. You hope I don't know how you want to break it down, like get back games, bounce back, but like that has to be that for this LSU team because this isn't this isn't even a that good of a Florida. It's a very banged up team that already didn't have like lofty expectations.
Yeah. It, I think a lot of it does start with Nussmeier. In terms of Brian Kelly said he was locked in. Do we believe that? I do, especially because I think Nussmeier at this point knows what to expect from himself and his offense, and I think he understands what he has to do at this point and like the expectations for him. Um, this isn't like a learning experience for him anymore. Whereas I think early in the year, even halfway through the year, it was very much still grappling with what exactly it takes to win in the SEC. I think he's very clear on that now, and I'm I'm optimistic. Florida's pass defense is very, very average. Florida's pass rush is really below average. That's been a thing the whole year. You look at their games against the top quarterbacks they've played, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, they really have not been able to rush the passer consistently. So you have hope as an LSU offensive line that you can contain them and not give up the pressures that you've given up the past 4 weeks. But and if that's the case, hopefully Nussmeier is able to see the defense well. But that's I'm optimistic that this is going to be Nussmeier's best game in some time.
It's got the chance with this banged up Florida secondary. We spent all of last week talking about trying to establish the run game, or at least a lot of it. Now I think we're to the point of like give Caden Durham touches, but just do what you have to do to move the football. And that's Nussmeier being more dialed in, that whatever it is, if it's more creative play calling, if it's getting these guys in different spots. I will say that injury report wise, CJ Daniels being listed as probable is good news, because we talk about CJ Daniels being someone who really opens up a lot of, not just for CJ, but what else they do in the passing game, moving guys around, all of that. He was the only receiver outside of Kyle Parker, who's out, who was even on the injury report. But for the second week in a row, they're going to play without Garrett Dellinger, who is ruled as out. They have Tyree Adams listed as questionable. He just had surgery. So Brian Kelly said it was like an emergency dress out travel situation. But Mabenga will be the left guard again. I don't know if you went back and watched the film, but you'd think he has an easier task this week than he faced a week ago.
Yeah, for sure. I like I said, this Florida defense, even at full strength, was not one that was really effective as a pass rushing unit. They're 86th in the country in front seven havoc rate. Nussmeier should be able to replicate what like a Quinn Ewers did, what like a Cam Ward did in terms of just being efficient and passing for over 300 yards. Now, Carson Beck did have a Carson Beck game. Carson Beck, I think, had 3 picks, but hopefully that's not where Nussmeier lands here. I think he's better than Beck, and I think he's going to having coming off of the games that he just played, I think he's going to be more efficient than what he's been. So I feel good about that. And then, the run game is not something that we believe in right now, but I did include it in my preview.
I believe in Durham.
Yes. Yeah, I believe in Durham as well. But in general, I include the stat in my recap, and I put it on Twitter. LSU has the lowest percentage of red zone drives ending with a rushing touchdown of any top 25 team, and the second lowest percentage of any SEC team. So 11 rushing touchdowns on 39 trips to the red zone is pretty staggering.
That is a good amount.
It's worse than Colorado, who has 11 and 37 trips. So, and Colorado is notorious for not being able to run the ball, and LSU is.
We talk about it every week. If you get in the red zone and you can't run it consistently, or you don't have a high level quarterback, it's very, very tough. The odds are stacked against you.
Yeah, and Colorado has Travis Hunter, who has made some ridiculous catches to bail them out. But
hey, Trey Des Green, turn it into a red zone option. He's got a couple targets, couple touchdowns. That's what you wanted to see. Fans wanted to see the 6'7" freshman tight end play a little receiver and get those mismatches. And we've seen a little bit of that when they get inside the 10. But Matty B, like in week 1, we talked about this, that like the team seemed more confident being on like the 8-yard line than the 1 or the 2. And that's an issue.
Yeah, especially coming off the last 2 years where it was like the Noah Canes and everyone would just punch it in. And this isn't to say that like it's the running back's fault, but it definitely just has completely changed year after year of them being like from effective inside the 10, inside the 5 as a running offense to now I mean one of the worst teams, like at least in the SEC and as a top 25 team. I thought that stat was really revealing in terms of their struggles. Like here's another one. The average for that stat, the average is 43% among top 25 teams. LSU is at 28.2% of their drives ending in rushing touchdowns in the red zone.
Well, and they're also not explosive to the degree where they're scoring touchdowns from 40 yards out or 50 yards out.
Yeah, that's again what this offense biggest handicap is you don't have vertical playmakers in that way, and maybe Nussmeier has limited them as well. Sure, it all plays hand in hand, but they have not been explosive vertically with the pass game, especially coming off what we saw last year with Jaden, Malik, and Brian. So you don't have that, and then you can't convert in the red zone. And that was really the biggest thing. I think Cole Kublik laid it out in one of his, was it Cole? No, no, no. I don't remember who it was. Regardless, it was Alabama was breaking big runs and not having to convert in the red zone. LSU was having to continuously have to try to convert in the red zone, and they couldn't. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's just not going to work at any level. So hopefully, again, Florida's offense should not be as explosive as what Alabama's was, and LSU's offense should be able to have a little bit more success just in general here. I think Nussmeier will be in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, even on the road with Lagway playing, still as 4-point favorites. This team is one that should win this game, but they've got to play much cleaner football,
I
penalties, all of that than they have previously. Certainly, turnover wise, I will note Florida's turnover margin is worse than LSU's, so they're
yeah,
actually right at the bottom. Few of the SEC, they've put it on the ground a lot and they've thrown picks. So and they haven't forced a ton this year on the defensive side. So that's something to watch. I think penalties for me. I want to see the O line play clean. I don't
sure.
pre-snap stuff really sets
Yeah,
them back, and when you're on the road, it hurts even more.
yeah. The
And you've got
penalties,
it, and you've got Mabanga in there now. So not only Chester as a first year guy, but Mabanga's making his second ever start. So
and it's first on the road.
and his first on the road, and you're at the
So
swamp. So
yeah,
I want the pre-snap penalties, I think, are one thing offensive. Like, I know what the offense should do, and I should note Chris Hilton at wide receiver has no injury designation this week. So, like, we can expect him to play. We'll see how much. They're
yeah.
minus that guard spot. They're healthy there now, and certainly so if CJ Daniels plays. But how big is that Mabanga Chester combo there of? And look, Will Campbell's false started at times. Emory
Oh
Jones is
yeah,
getting called for holds. So these guys need I think this has to be a good game for the O-line. They need that spark from them.
yeah. Um, all
Let's
right.
get an ad read.
Let's get an ad read. Yep.
Game time. All right. We do it every Friday in the preview and prediction pod. Game time ticketing app, the only one you need and the only one that we use. But take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code ON3, ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you can create an account, and then the code is ON3, ON3. That's $20 off. And you can get LSU basketball tickets this way. You can, men or women. You can get LSU
Pelicans.
football, Pels. You can go to a show. You can go to a
Jane
concert.
Daniels.
It doesn't matter. Game Time has literally everything. Maddie B, if you're watching on YouTube, has December's Commanders Saints game up. I've
Yeah.
been keeping an eye on this. There's some good deals like in the lower bowls in the 100 with like very good views. Like, yeah, you can pay $30 if you want to sit up at the top of the Superdome,
Yeah.
but if you
152.
want to splurge, pay about 100, get your $20
Yep. Or
off.
130. Yep.
Well, comes right off $20. So paying about $100 to sit in the lower bowl, see the Saints, see Jaden Daniels. They took an L last night to the Eagles, but it happens. Still had a great, phenomenal rookie season going, and yeah, you can catch Jaden. Get an early Christmas gift in, but Game Time, $20 off your first purchase with the code ON3. Terms apply. I'm sure you could, if you're going to Florida and you're bold enough to have already go over there and not have tickets, then get on Game Time. Don't get fooled by anyone outside the stadium. Just get on
Scalper.
Game Time, check the flash deals, all that at the end. You'll be good. You'll be handled. MVP time. This is where we each pick a player on offense and defense that we think perhaps has the biggest impact on the game. We'll toss out our picks from a week ago because they got smashed.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
picked Garrett Nussmeier and he got smashed. So
I don't know if there
let's.
was a right pick on offense. Well, Mason
No, no,
Taylor.
no. It didn't matter. You couldn't pick anybody anywhere. It didn't matter. Ramos, he kicked his field goals in.
Ramos and Mason Taylor, I think, were the best two players on the team.
Okay. So you ready for mine this week?
Go ahead.
I don't know where this fits though, because we don't ever do it. I think Ramos is going to have
Okay.
a game where he may kick 3 field goals. He kicked 4 at Arkansas and made them all. And they won comfortably on the road, even when they stalled out on offense. I think Ramos, this is his bounce. Like, he was bad at A&M, yes, but he had a bounce back game that went unnoticed. Like, I think now he goes to the swamp, about another solid game, but this time it's a close game, so it matters. So I think that Ramos, and throw in Roy and whoever's holding it. And if
Yeah.
they can get it off in time, I think he has a good game.
Um, I think
And
they're
he's a
gonna
tad, I should say, he's a tad better on the year than Florida's kicker. So if you're trying to just wonder if this is a back and forth type game, he's got a little bit better percentage than UF's kicker has had.
yeah. I think LSU is gonna look for a little spark on offense, at receiver, especially in the red zone. But I think just across the field, really. I think Trey'Dez Green gets on the field a good amount. I think he ends the game with 3 receptions. Um, I don't know if I can predict a touchdown, but, he'll get some opportunities there. I think Trey'Dez Green gets on the field, a good amount. I mean, they need they need playmakers, and I think Trey'Dez Green has the size and ability. I think he's gotta be comfortable enough here to get on the field. So, Trey'Dez Green is gonna be my pick. Let's do 3 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
You remember Mason Taylor had that really big freshman year where he was relied upon a lot. And
Yes,
when he went home to the state of Florida and played Florida, he only caught one ball for 6 yards. You'd have to think it's on his mind that in what will be his final time going to Florida, he wants to do a little bit more than one catch. So he could be one to watch.
for sure. He's very, very good. The most
Got a little
consistent
extra
player on the roster.
motivation there playing the Gators. I'm
Alright,
sure a lot of his
defense.
family is going to be there. So I'd bet he
Yeah,
has more than one catch,
yes.
which he did in this game
That's
2
very
years
safe.
ago.
That's very, very safe. Add that to y'all's
Um,
parlays.
yeah,
More than
that's
one
right.
catch.
Defensively, look, guys, we know what they are in the secondary, certainly at safety. They've got to tackle better. They've got to do all these things, better angles. The run fit's got to be right on the D line. The linebackers, we need to see a big game from Weeks. You got to have a bounce back game from Penn. It's just been a rough 6 quarters, Matty B. But they've got a chance to now kind of right that this week. I'm going to go, and I went Ramos saying that, but defensively, it's tough. I said Weeks last week.
Yeah, they got blown
I
off the ball
think,
last week, man. That was tough.
yeah, give me Weeks again. Give me Weeks again because I think that he's key to stopping the run and also containing Lagway.
Yeah, true.
He's the guy they
Um,
send. So if he can make some plays this week, that would be massive for them.
I
And his dad started at Georgia, so he probably grew up hating Florida.
true, true. Um, I'll go with another freshman here. I'll go Don McKinley. I think McKinley has over the course of the year gotten really comfortable with his snap counts. I think he ends up with over 20 snaps. I think he was kind of low
Oh,
last week, but I think it was a 15 last week. But he's gotten over 20 snaps in some games this year. So if he plays a third of the snaps defensively, I think he can make a couple TFLs. I, as a 5-star guy, we knew he was going to take a little bit of time to find his footing, and I do think he has had flashes of being that guy. Um, so I feel good about him against an offensive line that I don't think is great for Florida. And if Lagway's banged up, I think McKinley could make a give me one TFL and 3 tackles for McKinley.
all right. Well, the people wanted to see the youth play. You're going with both of them,
Both of them.
both 5 stars, Don McKinley and at DT and Trey'Dez Green at tight
Yep.
end. I'm rocking Ramos and Weeks. They have big games. I think LSU can handle the rest. Score prediction, Matty B, the over-under, I believe, is sitting around 55 and a half with LSU's 4-point favorites. Did you have a score already?
I did not. Um, but I think the offense has enough success here. I think Nussmeier is going to have a strong game. I don't believe Florida's defense is anything to the level of what they've seen the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. It's definitely the worst SEC defense that they've played so far. Um, with that being the case, maybe they can find some run game, but either way, as much as we don't want Nussmeier to throw the ball 45 times, he might have to throw it 40 times. And with that being said, um, I'm trying to think if there's a situation where Chris Hilton or somebody breaks out. I just think that they offense has enough success here that they outscore them a bit, and Now, I do think it's a slower paced game with Florida trying to milk the clock a little bit and LSU continuing to sustain drives. Like you said, they might settle for some field goals here, which is not great. But against Florida, I think you got to take as many points as you can get here. So give me LSU. Give me LSU. Jesus. LSU. Sorry, I'm trying to think. Just 31, 21 LSU.
Okay, I'm going LSU. I'm going LSU 26-24. Couple touchdowns, a number of field goals on drives that perhaps stall,
Yeah.
and you get out of there.
This is definitely not, and even though I just predicted a 10-point win, this is not a comfortable game, like,
No,
at all. This is still going to be a very,
we've
very,
seen 6 quarters of very bad football in a row from
yes.
LSU.
LSU has to completely turn it around. If LSU plays more bad football, Florida, I mean, just blew out Kentucky 2 weeks ago, which is, what it
Kentucky's
is.
not
What it is.
good.
It's- At least they're capable of doing it. Florida is.
No
At least
doubt.
they didn't. At least they didn't lose that game. But I'm saying if Nussmeier goes out, throws, if they can't block, like if they don't play football, they will lose this game on the road. Like I'm not above thinking LSU is unbeatable here. Obviously, the
Oh,
spread's smaller,
absolutely not.
and so
They
it's
could
like,
easily lose this game.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like just predicted a 10-point win. I think a lot of that is Lagway not being able to move and having to throw the ball more. Like if Lagway runs, if you told me it was 100% Lagway, I probably would have done like 31-28 at best. Like I'd be very, very concerned here. I do think the injuries for Florida are in a pretty dire spot. But yeah, if LSU comes out and does not play well, this is a very losable game. I do want to make sure I clarify that before I just log off here predicting a 10-point win here.
All right. Well, I've got a 2-point win. You've got a 10-point win. Vegas says it's a 4-point game. We'll see. I'm on the under, it appears. I think this will be a bit lower scoring, maybe because they do settle for some field goals. But 2:30 kickoff Central, 3:30 Eastern. Obviously, what his game is on ABC, correct, or ESPN?
I believe so.
Yeah, ABC. Aren't they the 2:30 game or
Yes.
3:30?
Yes, 2:30.
And then we will be on the Bengal Tiger, though, all day on Saturday, and we will be in the game thread. We'll have the live blog running, which kind of updates all game. You can just check that story for big plays and everything else. But and then we'll have all of our reactions right after Matty B. And if they win, they turn around and have Vandy and Oklahoma left in a world where they can still get into the SEC championship. So let's buckle up and let's see what kind of chaos we've got in the SEC this weekend.
Yeah. I just hope they play well. I just hope they play well. That would,
For the sake of the board, the
for the
sanity
sake
of
of
the
the board, for
fans.
my mental sake, come on. Let's see if they can play well.
I think they've got a bounce back spot in them.
I think so too. All right, that's all we got. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. The Bengal Tiger on 3 it's been great, really. I mean, the past month plus has been going through it, and then
It's $1. That's
yeah, it's
it.
only $1. Basketball is going too. Like you said, signing day was this week, so we have all the breakdowns and everything for everybody on the basketball side, and obviously football signing day is coming up in December, so we have you covered with
December
all of that.
4th.
So there you go. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back after the game to recap everything we saw. So check us out there, and we will talk to y'all later.